Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of VGU Talks and Let's Talk Games. Today we're going over the final conference of E3 2016. It's the Sony conference, and in case you're wondering what my thoughts were on all the other conferences that took place at E3 this year, then look no further, there will be annotations on screen for you to check out. Now without further ado, let's get kicking with my thoughts on Sony's event. Wow, this conference was literally game after game after game after game, and let's cover the first one. Right off the bat, right in our faces, Kratos is back. It's God of War, and he's now in the Norse environment with a new son. Well, looks like Kratos has been doing the whoopee ever since killing his dad. Who'd have thunk it? This time around, however, instead of a normal action camera view where Kratos is the little guy in the environment and then you're able to see pretty much everything that's local around him, this time around it's very more third person, so it attaches you closer to Kratos, and in a way you're able to see the size and scape of what he's going against now. And if you see the gameplay, you'll be able to see the size differences between Kratos and some of these larger mythical opponents that he is going against this time around. The game itself looks absolutely gorgeous. Just looking at it just makes me want it even more. And as he's going around with his son, they're hunting things, they're tracking things, you see something pop up in the bottom right hand corner which says knowledge gained. So by the looks of things, whenever your son learns something, he gains knowledge of that trait, meaning that he could potentially become better as the game moves on. Now it'll be interesting to see how this develops, because by the looks of things you're going to be able to control Kratos and his son throughout this entire adventure. So whilst Kratos is getting new weapons and possibly some new moves to take out all the big beasties that he's going against, his son will be learning from him, but at the same time his son will be learning some fundamentals of battle and of survival, being able to track animals and being able to hunt them down, being able to become more proficient with a bow and arrow, maybe even melee weapons as well. This adds a very interesting mechanic, and I can't wait to see how deep this goes. Speaking of Kratos, what the hell happened to his chain blades? They no longer exist, but yet again, I think I understand why they don't exist. Think about it. The end of the last God of War had it so that Kratos literally killed Zeus, destroyed everything that had anything to do with the Greek gods. By that mentality, that would mean that Ares would technically be 100% dead, and all the magic and all the power of the gods that has been spread throughout the lands is basically gone. So Kratos is free from his shackled chain blades, and now he's able to equip weapons we've never seen him with before, like this really awesome magical ice axe that he has on him that he's able to do brutal combos with, insane kills with, and he's able to throw it at opponents, go against another one, beat the crap out of them with his bare fists, and then just go back to not just claiming his axe, but literally doing the whole Silver Surfer, come here my board thing, where he just sticks his arm out, axe comes back to him, sticks it on his back, let's move on to the next opponent. That looks great. So this time around I'm guessing it's going to be Kratos versus Valhalla? We already know this is a Norse-based environment this time around. I can't wait to see the reason as to why Kratos goes toe-to-toe against Odin, Thor, Loki, and all the others of Norse mythology. If anything, it could even revolve around his son. Maybe Odin or Thor steals his son away to become part of the Valhalla tribe. Who knows? But the game looks awesome. No release date as of just yet, but bloody hell, what a way to kick off this conference. Straight after this, we had a teaser trailer for the upcoming game from Bend Studios known as Days Gone. This is an incredible title, but I'm going to talk more about it later on, as the trailer mostly teased things about these biker guys and now they're living in a survival post-apocalyptic world, but it gets brought up at the end of the show as well, so I'll bring out more of my thoughts later. Horizon Zero Dawn had a place with more gameplay live on stage. I'm already hyped about this game, and wow am I still hyped for it. Masters of the world are mechanized animals, potentially mechanized sentient beings that are also causing the humans to become more tribal. but your protagonist is looking around to understand the history of this world. Not a lot of people understand what's happened. Is it a post-apocalyptic wasteland? Did the machines become so powerful that they basically restarted the world? No one knows, but our main protagonist is going to find out. The game, like God of War, looks freaking amazing yet again. You've got robo-crabs, known as shell walkers, that have these big packs on their backs that you're able to find the weak points of using something known as focus scan. And noticed something with focus scan, not just does it detect weak spots, but it also detects enemies' movement patterns, so you'll be able to trace things a lot better. That's pretty cool. Now what happened here was, the main protagonist shot the pack on the back of the shell walker, looted it, and then quickly got away, and then later on went through her backpack in the very easily accessible menu to create traps for later on. So that's really cool. You can just take on an opponent, take some gear from them, and then use that gear on the fly later on to put something together that you might need against a bigger certain threat. That's great. Now, as well as the regular mechanized beasties that are going to be running around, you also have corrupted machines, which just basically seem to be machines that have innate aggro towards you. Meaning that if they're corrupted, they're going to go mental, they'll possibly attack other machines, but they will attack humans on sight, making these ones a more formidable battle than the regular opponents you'll probably go against. There's a full-on conversation wheel, kind of similar to Mass Effect. Curious as to whether this is going to be using the touchpad, because it looks like you can swipe in a direction in order to answer the question. It was uncertain, but I hope that's the way things are going to be done. They showed the map, and boy, this map is huge. I was not expecting this game to be as big as I thought it was going to. Just seeing this map alone just makes me think of all the different areas, all the optional areas you could potentially go to as well. I just can't wait. And something really cool happened. So you approached this one beastie and you seem to reprogram it using your staff, and by reprogramming it, you now gained it as a mount. It doesn't seem to help you in combat, at least for one that was reprogrammed in the gameplay that we saw, but if this is something that you can do as an option, this is kind of intriguing as to whether you're going to be able to reprogram certain mechanized beasties to then become a part of your party, so that not just will they be used as mounts, they can also help you get to certain locations if it's one of those big-necked giraffe-style beasties, or being able to actively help you in a fight if they're one of the more weapon-packed aggressive ones we have seen in other bits of gameplay footage. Overall, it looks great. It's now coming out on February 28th after a delay. I can wait for it. I cannot wait for this. One of my go-to picks for 2017. Then we have Quantic Dreams' new game. And to be honest, I've been out of the loop with Quantic Dreams since Fahrenheit, aka the Indigo Prophecy. I've genuinely not gotten involved with many of the other games because I just thought they lacked. But this genuinely got me interested. So you're playing the role of an android investigator by the looks of things, who's cybernetic. So instead of having human blood, you have blue blood. And this time around, by the looks of things, as this android investigator, you're going to be going to crime scenes and interacting with people in crimes to try and solve situations as an android against other androids. And by the looks of things, there are many different ways you can go about something this time around, instead of like 4 generic choices and only some of them make changes, others don't. And it's all dependent on information you gather. So if you gather all the information, you have a lot of things to bring up, to talk about, and you could potentially stop androids from killing hostages by simply talking to them and convincing them that this isn't the way. Other ways of doing it is like finding a lethal firearm and taking them out yourselves, taking them out via other methods in order to save hostages or to go through any other methods. It could result in your death as well if things go horribly wrong. You need to be very careful. And this game is just very interesting to me. I'm looking forward to see how these choices affect certain situations and whether or not this will have at least, I would say, 5 or 6 endings depending on how they're revealing this. The game is known as Detroit: Become Human. And you know what? I'm interested. Show me more Quantic Dreams and I might just get it. Now we bring in the PSVR titles. And something big came up and it simply said, before Kitchen. Now, if you guys are out of the loop, last year's E3, Capcom showed off a VR title or a VR experience known as Kitchen, and boy was it scary. It was one of the scariest, trippiest things I've seen in a long time. Very ominous, very dark, and this is exactly what this project looked like. Very ominous, sound design on point, very creepy, with pickups, and the character picked up this tape that just had Kitchen on it as soon as he put it into the VCR, and then it showed off all these pieces of footage, this very creepy atmosphere. And what does it show us? It's Resident Evil 7! Holy! One of the biggest shock reveals in the entire show, possibly the best shock reveal in the entire show. And they've actively came out saying that you can play the entire thing in VR or play the entire thing just standardly on PS4. I can't wait. Resident Evil 7 also has a release date of January 24th, 2017. Wow. Completely came out of nowhere, and guess what? If you want to play the demo, it's out now on PS Plus. Go get it. I've played it. It's crazy. Do it. Then we had a big reveal. The PSVR will be available as of October 13th for a price point of $399 on launch as well. It is also planning to come out with 50 games already in development. That's pretty damn awesome. Wow. And then we had an exclusive little showcase of some of the titles they are bringing to the table. Very nice indeed. One of the VR titles in particular was a game from Impulse Gear, where you're walking across the surface of a planet. It seems very ominous for a moment as you see mechanized little dudes scanning the locations. And I've noticed that when you have your gun out and when the sights of your gun goes over the enemy, that has a target on them. So when you're in VR, you're going to have to properly aim the gun in order to shoot anything that comes your way, and that's pretty cool. And you don't seem to just be going against smaller enemies as well. You seem to be going against these gigantic ones, such as another giant enemy crab or giant spider. The game is known as Farpoint. It looks pretty cool. I'm looking forward to it. And then you have the Star Wars theme tune. And guess what? X-Wing VR missions. Yes! Like, this is the one thing with VR that I think is going to do insanely well. Space battles. And everyone's been wanting something to do with X-Wing or Rogue Squadron for a long period of time. We're finally getting it. It's on PSVR. Star Wars Battlefront X-Wing VR missions. And after this, we had a little bit of a teaser for a Batman Arkham VR game done by Rocksteady coming out in October, and seems to be a VR exclusive title. So that is going to be interesting to see how it plays out. You being Batman in the Arkham universe, you going to be the Batman. Awesome. And the last VR title they did show was a little add-on to Final Fantasy 15. After they showed off the Chocobos and the new Chocobo theme, which were quite awesome, they showed a VR experience where you play as one of the other characters known as Prompto, and it feels like an on-rail shooter when you can look around, you're shooting his gun, you're firing off magic, and then you can transport from one location to another, similar to how Noctis can do it with his weapons as well. It looks interesting. Gameplay seemed a bit weird at the time, but again, it got me interested. I'm still looking forward to Final Fantasy 15, but this just seems like a neat little add-on for the game. And then with no company logo or anything like that, we went into this really awesome trailer for this game based in space. Intel pops up on your screen where you're able to use the touchpad to bring it up and read it in full. A possible open galaxy when you see this galaxy map come up, and all these different planets, locations, areas in space can be selected. So you might have a possible mission selection screen in this game, which looked very cool. You have an AI-aided ship as you go out into space. You go into the war, come out the other side, go straight into some insane, awesome-looking space battles in your ship. And then if you're taking on a giant battleship in the middle of space, instead of just going into the docking area and breaching the ship that way around, because that's too easy, that's too meta. Instead, you're going to break out of your ship and you're going to start floating in 0G on the surface of the battleship, grappling from debris to debris in order to get to places faster, grappling opponents and killing them in some crazy and improvised ways. You're throwing zero gravity grenades that are going to be able to float enemies that are on a gravitated plane. You have a portable shield where you're able to run up to opponents and smash them across the face. This game looks great, and the amazing thing is, it's Call of Duty Infinite Warfare? Whoa! Now, I said Resident Evil 7 had the best shock reveal. This was easily number 2. This is how you advertise Call of Duty after the horror that was the first trailer. Now I'm actually kind of interested in seeing how Call of Duty Infinite Warfare plays out. Sure, we also know the remasters coming with it, but at least they showed what this game's capable of. We are able to play Call of Duty Infinite Warfare exclusively for the first 30 days on PS4. Timed exclusivity, you know my stance on it by this point. Meh, let's carry on. Massive shocker. We were hoping, we were crossing our fingers. No, it's not Half-Life 3, but it's the best option for Sony fans. Crash Bandicoot's coming back, baby! Working together with Activision, there will be remasters of the original 3 Crash Bandicoot games coming out on PS4, which is going to be great. But in the meantime, if you want to play with Crash, he is going to be available in Skylanders Imaginators, where you're going to be able to draw your own heroes and bring them to life. That's great if you're a Skylanders guy. I'm not really into Skylanders, but at least Crash looks good in Skylanders in comparison to, I don't know, Spyro the Dragon. And I hope that if everything goes well with Crash, maybe, just maybe, we can get remasters of the first 3 Spyro games as well. Can you imagine that? I have my fingers crossed. Then the Star Wars themes whip up yet again. It's Lego Star Wars The Force Awakens, where the entire cast of the movie seems to be reprising their roles. But I'm unsure as to whether they're reprising their roles and doing fresh new voices for it again, or it's directly ripped from the movie and the audio's just put onto the cutscenes for when they work. Not 100% sure on that one, but I'm sure there'll be clarity in the future. It looks awesome, it looks funny, it's a Lego game, it's going to be good. A demo's available right now, and guess what? The game's out in 2 weeks! 2 weeks! Wow! I was not expecting that. Great! We get a Lego game in 2 weeks. Awesome. Hideo Kojima! One of the best intros to seeing Kojima back. Wow, it was good. It's also good to see that Hideo has been working on his English, because his English seems a lot better than it has been in previous years. Previous years, if he was going into detail with things, or was having a relatively long sentence to converse, he would have a translator with him just in case. But he was very solid this time around, very good, a bit stumbly, but it was perfectly fine. His English is coming along, it's just good to see Kojima. And he had his new game running in real time, as he said himself. It seems to be a future setting, and I was able to depict this due to the main character having handcuffs on him. There seem to be futuristic style handcuffs, so he could be some form of convict somewhere. And then there's a baby that seems to be tethered directly into the main protagonist, who's Norman Reedus! Kojima's working with Norman Reedus again, which leaves me to question as to whether Kojima's also maybe potentially thinking of working with Guillermo del Toro again, but I'll leave that for a different topic later on. The game looks very atmospheric, a possible survival game. There seems to maybe be these floating aliens across the land, keeping an eye on him. It looks very weird, very ominous, very well teased. The new game is called Death Stranding. I'm looking forward to seeing more from it, and it's great to see Kojima back. And then something I don't think anyone was expecting. A Marvel game made by Insomniac, and it's Spider-Man. Spider-Man is back, is on PS4 exclusively, might I add, which was an even bigger shock. It could be tied in with a new movie, it might not be tied in with a new movie. A bit of cutscene slash gameplay slash possible gameplay. It was unsure as to whether it was or whether it wasn't. But wow, new Spider-Man game that looks really good, made by Insomniac. I'm hyped. Give me it now. And before the show came to an end, we had a live demo of Days Gone. And as much as the teaser left me wanting to see where this game is playing out, holy was this gameplay crazy. So let's start it off. You're a biker, and obviously you use your bike in order to get around the world, and that's a pretty solid way of getting around things. I don't think I've seen a zombie survival game where you play as a biker of all things to get around the place. That's an interesting trait to have. And then you can go into areas and loot supplies. There didn't seem to be a pop-up notification of what loot you were able to get. You just seem to go through there, grab the loot, put it in your pockets and move on. So that just leaves me thinking as to whether that was done specifically for this demo, or whether that's an implementation of the game where if it's like generic supplies such as food and water, you're just gonna stuff it on you because you're constantly going to need food and water. So if you bumble across it, there's no point in having a pop-up because you know exactly what it is. Possibly, a little unsure, we'll see more later I'm sure. There are some really gruesome dead bodies lying around in this world. Like there seemed to be a female character who had her intestines literally running across the floor in very gruesome high-def detail. And in the game also, you seem to be scavenging for improvised add-ons for your weaponry, which makes perfect sense in a post-apocalyptic wastelandish world. If you're going to be lacking in certain materials, then it makes sense for your improvise to create your own silencers, maybe improvements and sights for your own weapons. In this case, the character walks up to a truck, pops the hood, goes into the truck, finds a canister, shoves it onto his pistol. Improvised silencer. Great! I love that idea. I want to see more. What makes this game extra creepy as well is that you seem to have child zombies that seem to be just as hungry as the other ones. Boy, I'm scared enough as it is of zombies, but I love zombies. Child zombies? Now you're getting into the territory of, okay, I'm gonna start freaking out when I play this game, but I'm still gonna love it. And then we saw the zombie hordes. And when I say hordes, I mean horde. This is a tidal wave of zombies. I have not seen this many enemies on screen at one point where it literally looks like a tidal wave of opposition. You're firing bullets into this thing, nothing stopping. It just keeps coming on and on. And as you're running away from this gigantic horde, you can actively make blockades to try and slow them down, or make them climb over it to slow them down even more. Wow, this game has already caught my attention, and I cannot wait to see more. That is Days Gone, no release date yet, but damn, color me interested. I'm a huge fan of my zombie survival games. This might just be my next go-to pick. And with all that covered, that was Sony's and PlayStation's press conference for E3 2016. A fantastic show, a ton of games, a wad of hype, and I think I'm happy to say is my personal favourite conference of the entire show this year. Nothing but non-stop games, great reveals and announcements, very solid work indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the conference, that's my thoughts, and that's my coverage of E3, sadly done for this year. But what are your thoughts on this conference? Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? What are your critiques? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time for another edition of VGU Talks.